I want you to picture a modern CEO.
Okay.
Let's say the head of a major financial institution, or better yet, a really high-ranking official at the IRS.
Right.
Someone with immense power, a wardrobe worth way more than your car, and a reputation that makes people nervous just walking past them. You got that image.
Crystal clear. Sharp suit, serious demeanor, probably checking a very expensive watch.
Exactly. Now take that guy, that dignity, that power, and put him in a tree.
Like standing next to it.
No, I mean literally scrambling up the bark, tearing that expensive Italian silk suit, hanging off a branch, out of breath, legs dangling, looking like a 10-year-old playing hide and seek. It's absurd.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if we saw that today, it would be a meme within 5 minutes.
It would be viral instantly.
Ah.
But that ridiculous, undignified image is exactly where we're starting today. Because we are doing a deep dive into one of the most famous and, frankly, one of the most misunderstood narratives in ancient literature, we're looking at the story of Zacchaeus, which is found in the text of Luke chapter 19.
And I'm really glad you started with the absurdity of the tree, because a lot of us might have a Sunday school version of this story in our heads.
Right, the song?
Exactly. The song about the wee little man. It feels cute. It feels safe.
Yeah, it's usually presented to you as a story about a short guy who just wanted to see a parade.
Right.
But looking at the stack of sources we have today, historical context, Roman economic laws, the sociology of first-century Jericho, this is not a cute story.
Not even close.
Yeah.
This is a gritty political drama.
Yeah.
It's really a case study on social ostracization, the systemic abuse of power, and a definition of redemption that isn't just spiritual, it's aggressively mathematical.
Aggressively mathematical. I love that phrasing. And we're going to crunch those numbers later because they are genuinely shocking when you apply them to a modern bank account.
Oh, absolutely.
But before we get to the spreadsheet, we have to set the scene. Our source material puts us in Jericho. Now, is Jericho just a backdrop here, or does it matter?
Oh, the location is crucial. You really can't understand Zacchaeus without understanding Jericho. In the first century, this wasn't just some dusty village. This was the city of palms. It was an oasis.
So, wealthy.
Extremely.
Yeah.
It was a major production center for balsam, which was a very expensive spice and perfume ingredient. Plus, it was a border town.
Okay.
So if you were moving goods from the east towards Jerusalem, you had to go to Jericho. It's a massive customs choke point.
Which brings us to our main character's profession. The text introduces Zacchaeus, and it doesn't just say he was a tax collector. It says he was a chief tax collector.
Right, architilangios. That's
Mm.
the Greek term. And it appears only here in the entire source text.
Wow.
He's not the guy sitting in the booth taking your toll. He's the guy who owns the booth. He's the regional manager.
Okay, let's unpack the Roman tax system for a second, because the sources suggest this wasn't like filing your return on April 15th. This was different.
Wildly different. Rome didn't have a massive bureaucratic agency to collect taxes directly in the provinces. They used a system called tax farming.
Tax farming.
Basically, they would auction off the right to tax a specific region.
Wait, they auctioned it like a franchise.
Exactly like a franchise. Wealthy individuals would bid for the contract. Let's say Rome determined that Jericho needs to produce 10 million sestertii this year.
Right.
Zacchaeus, or someone like him, bids to pay Rome that amount up front, or at least guarantee it.
So Rome gets their money guaranteed, and they don't have to deal with the headache of collecting it from the locals.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
But here is where it gets predatory. Once Zacchaeus has the contract, he has the full authority of Rome behind him.
Oof.
He needs to recoup that 10 million he promised Rome, plus his operating expenses.
Yeah.
But anything he collects over that amount, that is pure profit.
So there's no cap.
Effectively, no. I mean, there were regulations, but who are you going to complain to? He works for the empire.
Yep.
So if he stops your cart of balsam wood and says the tax is 50%, you pay 50%.
That is just a recipe for corruption.
It's institutionalized theft. And that is why the text says he was wealthy. In Jericho, being a chief tax collector is like winning the lottery, except everyone knows you won the lottery by stealing from their pockets.
That explains the tension in the source text. It says the crowd labeled him a sinner. And I feel like in modern English, sinner sounds a bit vague, like, oh, nobody's perfect.
No, in this context, sinner is a loaded social weapon. It means traitor.
Traitor.
Yeah, he is a Jewish man working for the Roman occupiers, extracting wealth from his own people to fund the oppression and getting rich off the skim.
So he's not just unpopular. He is a pariah.
He is arguably the most hated man in the city. He has immense financial power. He can ruin you financially on a whim, but he has zero social capital.
He's completely isolated.
Completely. No decent person would eat with him, do business with him outside of compulsion, or let their kids play with his kids.
Okay, so we have this picture of a man who has traded his community for his bank account. But then the text throws in this physical detail. It says he was short in stature.
Yes. And honestly, I think we overlook the psychology of this.
You think it's more than just a reason he couldn't see over the heads?
I do. Think about the Napoleonic complex idea. Here is a man who is physically smaller than everyone else. In a rough-and-tumble ancient world, physical presence really mattered.
Yeah.
How do you compensate for being looked down upon physically?
You force people to look up to you financially.
Exactly. You build a mountain of gold and stand on top of it.
Yeah.
You use power to make them fear you since they won't respect you.
Yeah.
But now that height becomes a literal logistical nightmare.
Right, because he hears Jesus is coming, this itinerant rabbi who is causing a stir, and he desperately wants to see him, but the crowd is there.
And crowds are physical things.
Especially if the crowd hates you.
Oh, absolutely. The source text implies he couldn't see because of the crowd. Now, sure, maybe they just didn't notice him, but I suspect it was way more active than that.
Oh, I bet.
If you're in a crowd and the guy who overtaxed your grandmother last week is trying to squeeze through, do you make way?
Absolutely not. You tighten the shoulder. You block him out. It's a wall of backs.
It's a physical manifestation of his social reality. He is walled out.
And this leads to the running. The text says he ran on ahead. Now, we mentioned the tree was undignified, but running.
In the ancient Near East, a wealthy, mature man does not run. It's a major cultural taboo.
Why? Just because it looks silly.
It's about the ropes. To run, you have to hike up your tunic, you expose your legs. In that culture, that was considered shameful, almost nakedness. Aristocrats move slowly, they process, they have people run for them.
So for Zacchaeus to sprint it,
He is publicly humiliating himself before he even gets to the tree.
that's fascinating. It suggests a level of desperation that the text doesn't explicitly state, but definitely implies. He just doesn't care about his dignity anymore.
He's reached a breaking point. The money hasn't fixed the hole in his soul. The power hasn't made him happy. He is willing to flash his ankles and climb a dusty sycamore fig just to get a glimpse of this Jesus character.
Let's talk about the tree for a second. A sycamore fig. Does the specific species matter here?
It has really nice texture to the reality of the account. A sycamore fig isn't a tall, majestic cedar. It's a wide, spreading tree with low branches.
So it's easy to climb.
Very easy. Kids love them. But they're also messy, sticky trees. So again, the image of the chief tax collector in his fine imported robes, hugging a sticky, dusty branch, it highlights just how low he is willing to go.
So he's up the tree, he's got the best seat in the house, he's just observing, he thinks he's invisible, right? He's the watcher.
Right, he's looking for a vantage point, not an interaction. He wants to see, but not necessarily be seen.
And then the camera focus shifts, Jesus stops right under the branch, and he looks up.
This is the moment everything changes.
And he says, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. He knows his name.
Which is terrifying if you think about it.
Yeah.
The last thing a guy in hiding wants is to be identified by name in front of a mob that absolutely hates him.
But then comes the kicker. Jesus says, I must stay at your house today.
The audacity of that statement is off the charts.
Right. Host invites guest. That's how it works. You don't invite yourself to a stranger's house.
You certainly don't invite yourself to the house of the town pariah. And notice the word must, dei, in the Greek.
Hey.
It implies necessity. Not I'd like to, but it is necessary. It's a divine appointment.
But hold on, we have to look at this through the eyes of the crowd. This rabbi, who claims to be a man of God, just invited himself to dinner with the guy who fleeces the community.
Yeah.
That's not just rude, that's a scandal.
It's a betrayal. You can hear it in the source text. It says, all the people saw this and began to mutter.
Muttering.
The Greek word there is diagonchizo. It's like a buzzing of bees. It's deep, angry complaining. He has gone to be the guest of a sinner.
They're thinking if Jesus really knew who this guy was, he wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly. By crossing the threshold into Zacchaeus' house, Jesus is incurring ritual impurity in the eyes of the religious elite and social suicide in the eyes of the locals. He is siding with the enemy.
So Zacchaeus scrambles down the text, says he welcomes him joyfully, which is a stark contrast to the grumbling crowd. And then we have a scene cut.
Yes, the missing scene.
We go from the tree to the house, and I want to pause here because I think we skip over the walk. Imagine walking through that crowd with Jesus. The case is probably beaming, and the crowd is probably spitting on the ground as they pass.
And then the door closes. And now it's just Jesus, his disciples, and Zacchaeus' entourage in this opulent house built on stolen money.
What do you think happened at that dinner? The text doesn't give us a transcript of the conversation over the appetizers.
That's the most interesting silence in the text. Usually we expect a sermon. We expect Jesus to sit him down and say, Zacchaeus, your tax rates are unethical. You need to repent. Here is a 10-step plan.
But there's no record of that.
No. The implication is that the simple act of acceptance of fellowship, of eating bread with him, broke him. Zacchaeus has been treated like a monster for so long.
And Jesus treats him like a human.
Like a human, like a friend. And that grace, it disarms him completely.
It creates a pressure cooker. The grace creates more pressure than judgment ever could.
Exactly. Judgment makes you defensive. I have to tax you because Rome makes me. But grace, acceptance, that makes you look in the mirror and realize you don't want to be this person anymore.
So in the middle of this visit, maybe during the main course, maybe after Zacchaeus stands up, and this is where we get to the economics of repentance, because he doesn't just say, I'm sorry, guys.
No. Talk is cheap. Zacchaeus knows that. He's a money guy. He communicates in numbers. Yeah. So he makes a two-part promise that is absolutely staggering.
Let's look at part one. Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor.
Stop there. Just do the math on that.
50%. Immediate liquidation.
Imagine you have a net worth of, pick a number, $10 million. Stocks, real estate, the works. You stand up and sign a document transferring $5 million to the local food bank. Boom. Gone.
That is life-altering. You're no longer the richest man in town. You've just halved your influence.
But he's not done. That's just the charity. Now comes the justice.
Part two, and if I have cheated anyone of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount.
If I have cheated, which is a rhetorical if. The whole system was built on cheating.
Okay, I want to push back on this number. 4 times. Is he just being dramatic? Like when people say, I'm 1,000% sure, or is this a specific legal thing?
Oh, it's very specific. And this is where the source material gets brilliant. In the Torah Jewish law, if you steal something and confess, you usually have to pay it back plus 1/5. 20%.
Okay, so 120% restitution. That's the standard.
Right. If you are caught stealing an ox or a sheep and you slaughter it, meaning you destroyed the asset and can't give it back,
yeah.
Exodus 22 says you pay back 4 or 5 times the amount. That is the harshest penalty in the book, reserved for destructive theft.
And Roman law.
Roman law had provisions for 4-fold restitution for manifest theft,
right,
like violent robbery.
So wait, Zacchaeus is effectively sentencing himself.
Yes. He isn't claiming the, oops, I made a clerical error defense, which would be the 20% penalty. He is effectively saying, I am a robber. I have destroyed these people's livelihoods.
He's applying the maximum possible sentence to his own crimes.
Exactly.
But hang on, let's do the math again. If he gives away 50% of his total assets to the poor,
yeah,
and then he has to pay back all the people he cheated at a 400% markup,
run the numbers.
He's going to be broke.
He is likely bankrupting himself.
If most of his wealth came from corruption, which the text heavily implies, and he has to pay that back 4-fold, the remaining 50% of his legitimate assets might not even cover it.
Exactly. This isn't a donation. This is a demolition. He is liquidating his status.
Yeah.
He is tearing down the house of wealth he built to protect himself.
That's wild.
He is choosing to be poor and right with his community, rather than rich and isolated.
That is intense. I mean, we see celebrities apologize today, and it's usually a carefully worded PR statement. I regret if anyone was offended.
Right. Mistakes were made.
But Zacchaeus is putting his money where his mouth is. Literally.
It proves the sincerity. You can fake tears. You can fake a speech. You cannot fake giving away your entire fortune. The numbers don't lie.
And this brings us to Jesus' reaction. He hears this financial plan, and he makes a declaration. Today, salvation has come to this house.
Notice the timeline. The salvation is declared after the repentance is authenticated by the action.
And then Jesus drops the mission statement. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost.
That word lost, let's dig into that.
Usually when you hear the lost, you think of, I don't know, a sheep, someone confused, someone poor and helpless.
Exactly. We think of the victim, the person who has fallen through the cracks. But here, the lost person is the guy at the top of the pyramid. The wealthy oppressor.
That turns the definition upside down. You're saying the villain is the one who is lost.
In this narrative, yes. Zacchaeus was winning at capitalism, but he was losing at humanity. He was lost in his greed, lost in his isolation.
But it's a hard pivot for us, isn't it? We naturally have sympathy for the victims of the tax collector, and we definitely should.
Right.
But this story challenges you to look at the perpetrator, the guy in the suit, the corrupt politician, and see them as lost too.
It challenges the cancel culture instinct, honestly. And we're just reporting what the source says here. But the crowd wanted to cancel Zacchaeus. They wanted him gone. Jesus wanted him found.
And the result of being found was that the community actually got their money back.
That's the irony. The crowd grumbled about Jesus being nice to the bad guy. But because Jesus was nice to the bad guy had a massive change of heart and refunded the community fourfold.
Wow.
The grace of Jesus actually accomplished the justice the crowd was longing for.
Because if Jesus had thrown stones at him, Zacchaeus probably would have just stayed up the tree and kept his money.
Precisely. Condemnation locks people in their defensive crouch. Radical acceptance unlocked the transformation.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we are left with a pretty challenging profile of redemption.
It disrupts our categories. We really like clean lines. Good guys, bad guys? Zacchaeus is a bad guy who becomes a good guy, not through punishment, but through a dinner invitation.
And through a willingness to let go of the one thing that defined him, his wealth.
It asks you, the listener, a really tough question. Who do we consider unsavable? Who is the Zacchaeus in our modern world?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a political opponent, a corrupt CEO, a family member who has burned every single bridge.
It's so easy to write them off. It's a lot harder to imagine them climbing down the tree and writing a check for everything they owe.
But the math of Zacchaeus says it's possible.
I want to leave you with one final thought, something you mentioned in our prep.
Yeah. I think we often buy into the myth that people can't really change, or if they do, it takes decades. A leopard can't change its spots, right?
Well, we think personality is totally fixed.
But look at this timeline. It's one afternoon. Zacchaeus wakes up a greedy, isolated extortionist. By sunset, he is a philanthropist who is reconciled with his neighbors. He pivots 180 degrees in the span of a single meal.
That's terrifying and hopeful at the exact same time.
It suggests that we aren't as stuck as we think we are. If a man defined by greed can instantly pivot to giving it all away, what does that say about our ability to change our entire nature in a single moment?
A question definitely worth chewing on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.